So they say that success is where opportunity meets preparedness, and I think we have a really great opportunity right now with what we're trying to do, and the tools and the technologies are there and they're available for us that they just haven't really been in the past. And so when we start thinking about using AI and machine learning at our fingertips, I think there's really a great place for us to kind of move some of these technologies forward. So I'm going to talk about the Michigan Nutrient Reduction Dashboard that we are in the process of creating with the state of Michigan. And what this Michigan Nutrient Dashboard is it's an online tool that's going to be used to quantify and track conservation investments across Michigan toward the nutrient reduction goals. And it's really an accountability system so that we can take a look and see where are we doing well, making progress, and in what areas do we really need to improve on to make further progress. It also provides a first-time framework to start to look at how do we quantify conservation across the landscape. So right now we don't really have a great way to do that. There's a lot of conservation activities that are going on. We don't have a common method for how we model the outcomes of those conservation practices. We don't have a good way to collectively pull those all together into one place to look at the cumulative effect of those. And so this platform will help provide a systematic approach to do that. It also provides kind of a sustainable, collaborative supporting effort to work across the basin toward these conservation practices. So MDARD right now is partnering with the Institute of Water Research at Michigan State to build off a platform that's called the Great Lakes Watershed Management System. This is right at the beginning of the process. It's a 3-year effort that we're doing, and we're really working with our partners to co-design, test, and deploy this system out in the landscape over the next 3 years. And one of the things that we're trying to do with this is to be able to track these investments across different funding sources. That was one of the things that came across in the 2018 Domestic Action Plan, is to be able to do that. So we're going to really work toward being able to address that particular task. So I'll show you here, this is the Great Lakes Watershed Management System landing page. We have developed this system and we customize the interface for various different projects. And essentially what this, the Great Lakes Watershed Management System is a kind of quantifying and reporting system at the field scale. So we're able to do what-if scenarios and look at conservation practices. It is not a model itself. It's essentially a platform that utilizes a number of different models. We have about 7 different models that are currently integrated in there now. None of these are developed at the Institute. They're all from different organizations. You can see some of those here, including SWAT, Althea, SEDMOD, and a few others. These different models run in the background, and they're used to look at things such as sediment and nutrient reductions, maybe groundwater recharge, wind erosion, and various other aspects that the tool can look at. It's a fairly well-established system. It's been around for over a decade. It got initial funding from GLRI out of EPA, also with the Army Corps of Engineers. It was first developed for the priority watersheds, and we have, over time, have been developing that out into other subwatersheds across Michigan and the Great Lakes. These organizations here on the right, you can see, are different organizations that have been working with us over time, and we've either between conservation funding that has come through these programs into the Great Lakes Watershed Management System, or for the development specifically of the tool, we've had about $16 million that have come through that since it started up. We have some established training that has already been going on, and people are familiar with it. We have MEP technicians who receive annual training in a number of counties. These are typically programs that have been in Saginaw, River Raisin, the Maple River Watershed, Rabbit River, and a number of others. that as part of those programs, we provide different training regularly with technicians. And then they're out actively working with the farmers on a day-to-day basis to use these tools to look at different conservation practices and get those practices adopted through those programs. Just kind of give you an idea of what this system looks like. The user will come in, again, through an online interface. They'll navigate over either by putting in their address or through a map. They'll find their particular field. They can digitize that field. And then they can start to look at different what-if scenarios. So they can put in some information about what the current practice is and what they might be interested in doing. Like this could be putting in a buffer strip, could be putting in no-till. And they'll provide management information about what's their crop rotation, what is their fertilizer rates, different things regarding if they have cover crops. And then the system in the background grabs soil types and slopes and other things that runs against those models that I mentioned earlier. And then what you get is an output, so the system runs in real time, takes a few seconds, provides feedback based off of those model results on either reductions in sediment, nutrients, again, or groundwater recharge. And a lot of these programs we've been able to tie to performance-based conservation. So you'll see we have this view payment method here, and what that does is allows the technicians to work with the producers and see what a payment rate is for that specific practice at that location. And then we've developed contracts within the system that they can work with the farmer directly, print those contracts out, and have a seamless process. And then quantify, again, all the different practices that have been implemented through this process. So switch gears for a minute. Again, that's the Great Lakes Watershed Management System. That's the platform we've been developing. And so what we're doing is trying to customize a part of that to create this nutrient management tracking dashboard. And so we're just at the beginning process of this. We started building out some of the conservation practices that will be implemented into the system and that'll be modeled. This isn't a permanent list. This is just kind of our initial cut at what might be in here. And then we started to think about what are the metrics that we can, that these conservation practices can inform, that we can then start to track over time. So these might be things like acres of conservation, total phosphorus, soluble phosphorus, maybe sediment reduction or soil health. And then ultimately these will go into the dashboard and we'll be able to track those over time. We then took those data metrics and looked at how can we then use those metrics to inform the specific goals of the domestic action plan and adaptive management process. And so these goals that you see here are right directly from the domestic action plan. And these, again, are loads at different times of the years at different locations within the watershed. And then we'll be able to try to incorporate those into that dashboard so that we can kind of track that in real time. Again, one of the things that we were looking to accomplish with this is to be able to track all conservation across all funding sources. So this was, again, was our kind of first cut at the different programs and sources that this data is going to try to collect. And so we've identified specific data holders within these groups, and then we'll be starting to work with them directly to figure out what are the data protocols, how do we get that into the system, what's the frequency that we bring that into the system, and then we'll start developing that process. So I'll switch up a little bit, and one of the goals that we were trying to do for today, again, because we just started this process, is just to create kind of a vision for what this system might look like. None of this is in stone yet. We're still working very much at the very beginning of the process, but still wanted to create a vision for what we might have for this. So this is a landing page. I'm going to talk a little bit about this more in a minute. This here is the dashboard, which will kind of be the meat and potatoes of what the system will be. We wanted to create an area. There we go. Create an area here where we could quickly look at the long-term nutrient reduction goal tracking. Again, these are the things from the domestic action plan. We wanted to have an area that was map-centered so you could look at watershed scale analysis and start to break out different aspects of the data that's being collected by watershed boundary and then also by the different metrics I mentioned earlier. And then on the left-hand side, we wanted to create just a kind of an easy like infographic type display of certain kind of basic data that's being collected. And then lastly, here down at the bottom, we wanted to be able to provide charts and graphs that would indicate the water quality monitoring that was going on, and then also be able to look at the specific conservation metrics in real time. All right, so I don't have the ability to go online, but I wanted to show kind of what the system looks like in real time. So I have a little video. We'll see if it works okay here, if it starts playing. But essentially, this will be the landing page. And again, we'll kind of talk about what the system actually is. And then we'll have different components that will talk about the features, again, for a user coming on to learn about the system. And then we wanted to have a place to share different stories and activities that were happening within the watershed. So these just talk about, again, example stories that'll be up here. But we'll have these up here to talk a little bit more about what's happening. And then the dashboard, again, you can go click on that, and that'll open up into a dynamic dashboard. What we're trying to do here is to be able to illustrate the dynamic nature of what we're doing with this system. So some data will come in annually, some will come in quarterly, and then some of the data through the Great Lakes Watershed Management System will come in real time. So as those practices are getting implemented into the system, it'll continually be getting updated. So here's a way you can interact with the map. You can select the various metrics and parameters. You can select different time frames, and we'll have that connected to all the different charts associated with that particular parameter. So again, you can kind of work through those and see in real time what each of those different metrics are doing for you. And then if you want to interact in a larger mapping interface, we have the ability to go in specifically to a watershed, and then you can click to view this in a larger space that's focused mostly on map-centered interface. So with this, again, you can zoom in. We have an option where you can select various watersheds by sub-watershed that you're interested in. As you select these different ones, again, graphs change, the interface changes. You can kind of get the idea of what's happening here with this. But long term, this is where we're heading. We're in the process right now of really just trying to pull together all the pieces that we need, create the interface to do that, and then slowly start to build this system out. So with that, it goes on for a second more here. But with that, I'd just kind of wrap it up and say, thank you for the opportunity to share what we're working on here. And be talking a little bit more about this tomorrow, try to get feedback from people about kind of where we should be looking and what things we should be doing next. Thanks.